Well, can't see him, but know that he's here.
Senator Carson, you should be
Yes.
off that on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very much, Aaron. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am Senator Sharon Carson from Senate District 14. Today, we will be holding a meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Before we get started, I'll read through a checklist to ensure that the meeting that we are holding is in compliance with the right to know law. As chair of the Judiciary Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 20-04 and its extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and to listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. I just would like to make a little correction. It was pursuant to executive order 2020-04. In accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that 1, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possible by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selective legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously watch and or listen to the meeting on Zoom or YouTube or via phone by following the directions and links provided on the general court website. 2, we have provided public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting in the Senate calendar. 3, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please email remote@leg.state.nh.us or call area code 603-271-6931. 4, in the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. 5, please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. 6, finally, let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state where they are and if anyone else is in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will call the roll. Senator French.
Harold French, Senator District 7, broadcasting live once again from my home in Canterbury. I am not alone in the house. My son is here and will be in and out of the room.
Thank you. Senator Whitley.
Good afternoon. This is Senator Becky Whitley from my home in Hopkinton. I'm alone in the room, but my husband is in the house.
Thank you. Senator Gannon.
Senator Gannon, alone in my house in sunny Sandown on the shores of Lake Phillip.
Thank you. And I am Senator Carson. I am at my home in Londonderry and my daughter is in the room with me. We did receive communication from Senator Khan that he would probably not be attending the meeting today. He has had a family emergency in Chicago. The committee would like to send its best wishes to the senator and hope everything turns out okay for him. Okay, that being said, we're going to go ahead and open the first bill we have scheduled today, which is House Bill 123. And we're going to call the prime sponsor, Representative Klein Knight.
Hello, thank you so much, esteemed Senate members and Madam Chair of the Judiciary Committee. Once again, I am before you to do this. This bill was introduced last term and it was also passed on a voice vote on unanimous consent calendar. And so we're doing this again this year. It was going to be on consent, but there was a fiscal note of 0, which it was not there last term. Not sure what's that about. The other thing I want to say is that it still remains bipartisan. Women in the sex work communities and against their will are trafficked and held hostage by abusers that basically say you can't get out of this situation because you are doing something illegal, and therefore they are condemned to stay trapped in a certain lifestyle. So this has been fought for many years with complete bipartisan support. I don't know if the committee remembers testimony from the sex workers that did show up last year before COVID. I'm not sure if they're here today. Some of their stories were very hard to hear. And it is my understanding that, and I did say that they would not have to participate if they did not feel comfortable. So with that being said, I hope if you have any questions, please send them my way.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Representative Klein-Knight. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Catherine Cooper.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Catherine Cooper. I appear today on behalf of the New Hampshire Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and I'm here to testify in opposition to this bill. The reason that we're opposing this bill is because it invites false accusations of sexual assault in order to avoid prosecution for prostitution. During the hearing on this bill in the House Criminal Justice Committee, a great deal of time was spent discussing the fact that evidence gathered during a medical exam would not be used to support a prosecution for prostitution. We have absolutely no problem with that. The problem is that the way this bill is structured is that in such a way that anytime a prostitute is arrested, he or she will be able to avoid conviction by claiming, either truly or falsely, that he or she was sexually assaulted. Now, please make no mistake, NHACDL is very aware of the dangers that prostitutes face. Our members represent these men and women when they are charged with crimes, and we work to try and help those who are not willingly in the sex trades. But we also represent the people who are charged with paying for sex and are very aware that these transactions can have many different power dynamics and nuances. And it's just not accurate or fair to simply categorize all prostitutes as victims and all purchasers as evil men. That really oversimplifies what happens. So frankly, if the overarching goal is to help prostitutes avoid victimization, then legalization and regulation of prostitution is the proven way to reduce abuse, to reduce the spread of disease, and to reduce the trauma that can go along when these transactions are hidden in the shadows. So we request that this bill be ITL'd and redrafted because in its current form, it will invite false accusations, have unjust consequences, and will actually not do enough to help people who are working in the sex trades. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Ms. Cooper. Are there any questions? Senator French has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. I too had the same thoughts when I was reading through this bill. Could you tell me, are the charges for hiring a prostitute the same charges for a sexual assault?
No, there are separate statutes dealing with assaults and dealing with prostitution. You can be charged with soliciting prostitution, and it may have nothing to do with an assault, and vice versa.
So, follow up?
Yes, follow up.
Thank you. So, are the penalties the same? Are they felonies? Are they misdemeanors? Do you know what they would be for?
Well, there's actually a variety of. There are several types of penalties and the way those statutes are structured, and it also depends on especially for assaults, whether or not it's a severe assault. And frankly, if this bill was redrafted, I would like to see assault in general, not just sexual assault, because frankly, a lot of times, people who are engaged in prostitution end up getting like beaten up really badly and assaulted, and it's not necessarily sexual. So in my opinion, it would actually be a better statute if basic assault was included, not just sexual assault.
So one more question.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So what I'm trying to find out is if the prostitute said she was assaulted to get out of charges, would the penalties for the John then increase substantially from just straight
From just prostitution to
right?
Yeah, it would likely add a charge of sexual assault against the person who was the purchaser. And that is our concern.
Yeah.
The way this is structured, it creates an incentive to lie and say that you were assaulted, because it means you get out of being prosecuted. And then the person who is charged with purchasing or paying the prostitute ends up with an additional charge that,
That's how I
you don't
read
want
it.
people to lie, but we all know it happens.
Right. Good. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Cooper.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next, we're going to Pamela Keelig. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you so much for this opportunity to testify today. My name is Pamela Keilig, and I'm the Public Policy Specialist at the New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, which is the umbrella organization for 12 community-based crisis centers that provide services to nearly 15,000 survivors of sexual and domestic violence annually. I am here in support of HB 123, which would grant immunity from prosecution for prostitution when reporting sexual assault. The coalition is grateful to have worked with the bill's sponsor and the House Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee on an amendment, and we support this legislation as amended by the House. First, we fundamentally believe that the fear of being arrested should never prohibit a victim from reporting that they have been sexually assaulted, and this protection should apply to individuals who engage in prostitution. Every person reacts to sexual violence in their own way, and they may experience shame, fear, shock, and feelings of isolation. These unique responses to sexual violence can make it challenging to come forward, and sex workers are particularly vulnerable. As you might know, sexual assault is one of the most underreported crimes, and this bill will help address some of the barriers that victims might face when deciding to come forward. It is essential that we continue to remove obstacles that prohibit victims from reporting and ensure that they are able to receive the medical, criminal, legal, and other services that they are entitled to in our state. Secondly, through the passage of this bill, New Hampshire will be aligned with federal policy and ensure compliance with the Violence Against Women's Act, also known as VAWA. VAWA is a federal statute that grants rights and protections to victims of gender-based violence and allocates funding to professionals who respond to victims, such as law enforcement, prosecutors, crisis centers, and other providers. In 2005, VAWA was reauthorized with several landmark changes, specifically affecting the response of law enforcement agencies and healthcare facilities to victims of sexual assault. These changes specify that states and territories may not require a victim of sexual assault to participate in the criminal justice system or cooperate with law enforcement in order to receive a forensic medical exam, be reimbursed for the exam, or both. HB 123 is aligned with and supports the goals and policy standards of VAWA and ensures that New Hampshire complies with these requirements and remains eligible for the funding mentioned above. And in conclusion, we believe that no rape victim who comes forward to report an assault or to receive medical care should be arrested as a consequence, and making that care contingent on their involvement in criminal legal system is not acceptable. It is imperative that any victim of sexual assault have access to these services and treatment regardless of their circumstances. And for these reasons, we support the passage of HB 123. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any questions? Senator Whitley has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for taking my question, Pamela. So I'm curious about the money that does come into New Hampshire from VAWA. And I'm wondering if you could share, where that money is directed and how much comes into New Hampshire.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to provide the committee with a more thorough response after I testify here today. But the state receives money through the Department of Justice, and then that gets allocated to several stakeholders across the state. Like I mentioned, legal services, New Hampshire Coalition, then through the crisis centers, as well as law enforcement, and also our medical providers as well. So it goes through all of our stakeholders.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any further questions for Ms. Kiley? Senator Gannon?
Hi, Ms. Kiley. Thanks for taking my question. You probably heard the testimony of the attorney before you, and I had never thought about it. I thought this was real easy, clear-cut bill. And then she invited false accusations against Johns that every prostitute may claim that they were assaulted so they wouldn't be charged. What would you say to her?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. Our understanding when reviewing this bill, and we did work in consort with the ACLU as well, is that the structure of the bill is that in the course of reporting, someone has immunity. So I don't think the false accusation aspect applies in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony
so
this
much.
afternoon. Margaret, do we have anyone in the waiting room?
We do. We have Representative Klein Knight with a hand raised and Joseph Hannon.
Okay, why don't we go to Joseph Hannon and then we will go to Representative Klein Knight.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Joseph Hannon. And I'd like to speak in strong support of House Bill 123. Our current laws allow for victims of sexual assault and other violent crimes to be victimized again. When we confuse a person's agreement to exchange a sex act for something of monetary value, and with a person giving up his or her body autonomy, it's a dangerous misconception. It's a violation of a person's civil rights to say he or she is unable to be raped, and it's dangerous for our communities to allow sexually abusive individuals to go unchecked. I've personally witnessed or provided medical treatment to several victims of assault who refused to file charges for fear of prosecution for drugs or prostitution. My wife is an emergency room physician who used to be the director of one of the two major sexual assault units in the city of Philadelphia. And she also had the same experience with many people afraid to come forward for fear of being arrested. That was the number one reason why sex workers did not report sexual assaults that we encountered. This is something that in light of the fact that there are so many people not coming forward for any kind of rape, and we have a population that is much more likely to be violated in the course of their work, I think it's very important to give this special consideration to sex workers because they need this. They really need this to be done. The number of sex workers that experience sexual violence during work globally is between 45 and 75%. And there was a report to the United Nations in 2004 that police violence against sex workers is a pattern that includes sexual assault, harassment, public gender searches, police strip searches for the person of viewing genitalia and rape. And because of the stigmatizing notion that sex workers cannot be sexually assaulted, sex workers are usually left out of the national conversation. They are often ineligible for rape victim compensation funds or receive reduced amounts. I know that's not the case necessarily in New Hampshire, but it is a problem globally. They have a 32 to 55% chance of experiencing sexual violence in a given year. And also, finally, I'd like to say that this is something that is the very least we can do to try to break those barriers down for people coming forward. As far as false allegations are concerned, anybody can make a false allegation. And to imply that sex workers are a special class of people who need to lie is, I think, it's discriminatory, and it reveals a certain level of bias in our opinions. So I think it's very important that we do this, and it'll definitely make things safer, not just for sex workers, but for women in general to feel that it's safe to come forward at any time. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hannon. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. And finally, we will go to Representative Klein Knight.
Members of the committee for hearing me again. I just want to clear up the fact that this bill reads that somebody has to actually come forward to make a claim that they have been assaulted. So you cannot get in trouble after the fact and say, claim, oh, then I was, to get out of a certain thing. Okay, so that is a misconception here. And I'd like to show the committee your bill, Senate Bill 122-FN, which you agreed on, and it's moving to us. We're hearing it on Wednesday. And I'm really confused as to Senator French's confusion as well, because he took the exact same languages from this bill and put it in his omnibus bill 122-FN, which you guys supported. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much again. Margaret, anyone else?
Yes, we do have a hand, Crystal Du Bois.
Okay, let's hear from Ms. Du Bois. Good afternoon, Ms. Du Bois.
Hello, committee. Thank you so much for your time. I didn't intend to speak today. I was just observing, but I'm a social worker and a national advocate for survivors who've been involved in the sex industry. And I wanted to make a couple of clarifying points because I've worked with hundreds of people over the past 20 years in this exact situation, and I strongly support the bill. First of all, as Ms. Klein Knight said, in reality, people generally come forward assisted by a social worker or a community leader. And so I've never in 20 years seen a situation where a sex worker in the middle of an arrest tries to sort of formulate some kind of defense based on victimhood. It simply doesn't happen. Generally what happens is, with community support, someone comes forward with much trepidation into a terrifying place, which is a police department, to bravely tell her story and to get a predator off the streets. And so, and that is a thoughtful and important thing that is a service to society. So I think we should really assist people when they are attempting to help all of us to get the worst predators off the streets. Second of all, I strongly support making this broader. In all of my years, I have seen sex workers. Yes, sexual assault is one of the crimes that is committed against them, but so is robbery, physical assault, and human trafficking, and many, many others. People who pose as clients, these are criminals who pose as the clients of sex workers because they know that this is a shadow area that they can take advantage of. And we do need to shine a light in that area. And this bill would do that, would shine that light, which would help all of society and sex workers. And again, making it broader and including other crimes. I can't think of a single crime actually that I wouldn't want to stop that's less important than a prostitution arrest. So I'm having a hard time imagining what would be excluded rather than be included. Thank you so much for hearing me today.
Thank you very much for your testimony this afternoon. Are there any questions for Ms. Du Bois? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone else, Margaret?
We do not have any other hands raised.
Okay, seeing that no one else wishes to speak, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on House Bill 123. Next, I'm going to open the public hearing on House Bill 546 and recognize the prime sponsor, Representative Bolden.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You might also hear my dog sometimes.
That's okay.
I'm Amanda Bolden, representative for Ward 5 in Manchester. I think probably all of you know me at this point, but I want to thank you for hearing this bill today. You should be pretty familiar with 911 immunity, the way that it is in our laws currently, because this committee, I think most of the people on this committee were on this committee a few years ago when you repealed the sunset on the original 911 immunity law on our books. That was so in 2015 we passed 911 immunity into law, but it had a sunset attached to it on the floor by, I think, Senator Bradley, and it passed with a sunset that was, I think, like a 2-year sunset, if I remember correctly. And then in that 2-year period, enough data was gathered to support the fact that the law was being really effective, that a bill was put in to repeal the sunset, and then this committee heard that bill and passed it, and the sunset was repealed. So I know that that's a lot of back and forth, but you're senators, so I'm sure you know what I'm saying. And I want to highlight a difference between this bill and the bill that you just heard. This bill, which addresses reporting violent crimes, is not about prostitution at all. It's specifically about the crime of possession. And the existing law provides immunity for the charge of possession when someone reports an overdose. And the testimony that you heard when you repealed the sunset showed that the rate of overdose death in New Hampshire has been steadily decreasing since the original 911 immunity law was passed. I don't know if you can hear my dog walking around the room. Sorry. So that's been working really well. And the concept here is that if we're having success getting people to call 911 to report overdoses, what else can we get them to cooperate with law enforcement on? So some of the examples here where this could apply, extending 911 immunity for the crime of possession, if someone's reporting a violent crime, for example, if someone's been sexually assaulted, which was the topic of the previous bill. If someone, not a sex worker, anyone who's got some kind of substance abuse problem, they have drugs on them, or they're worried about maybe being charged with internal possession, something like that, but they've been assaulted, there's a short period of time to collect DNA evidence and to get reliable testimony. And we don't want someone who's been harmed by another person, who's a genuine victim, to spend time trying to make themselves presentable so that they can then contact police through whatever method to give their testimony. If they're going to do that at all, they might decide that it's not worth the trouble. And another example is that maybe someone runs in a certain crowd, they're in a certain a group of people, they have personally a substance abuse issue, they overhear a conversation about a bank robbery that they know was in the news the day before, they hear enough to convince them that the people maybe in the room near them were involved in that crime. This bill would encourage them to go to police and not have to worry about being charged themselves for the crime of possession if the reason that they end up engaging with police is to report information about someone else's crime. And I think it kind of came up at the end of the last hearing on the prior bill, the issue of can someone just, they're being arrested and they say, wait, I have information about a bank robbery, and try to get out of the charge that way. It's explicitly in the existing law that this bill piggybacks onto. So if you look at the bill, lines 11 and 23 have the phrase gained as approximate result of the request. So the way that this applies is that if the awareness on the part of police that the person is committing the crime of possession comes as a result of that person communicating with police to report a violent crime, then the police should not arrest in that situation for the crime of possession. Of course, if someone goes to police to report a violent crime that they're involved in, they're not going to have immunity for the violent crime. What else? I have some bullet points here. It's a pity we're not in the State House together, or I could look at my sweaty palm prints on the table because I always get so stressed out in the Senate. Oh, and then a speaker from the last hearing from the Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers said that she'd like to see assault added to the general concept, just basic assault, and that's something that's included in this. Also, with this bill, police can still confiscate any evidence to that would be supportive of the crime of possession. So it's not like if they see the drugs out on the table and they're talking to someone about, you know, they've experienced a sex assault, they're taking their information about the crime. They're not obligated to leave the drugs there and walk away. The police are free to confiscate it to protect that person, drug paraphernalia, things like that. And oh, I mean, I think that it might be worth mentioning this, like the last bill, is a bill that died due to COVID and never made it to the Senate last year. And interestingly enough, after I filed the bill last year, it was like, you know, the very beginning of COVID, like the bottom left of the bell curve of insanity. And I was driving home from the grocery store, which I was avoiding going to as little as possible. And on the way home, my husband and I came upon two men fighting in our neighborhood a few blocks from our house. And one guy was on top of the other guy. They're rolling around in the grass. And the guy who was on top had a full champagne bottle in his hand, and he was beating the other man in the face with it. And it was, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm lucky enough, I guess, to just never really have been present for such a gory, violent act. And my husband, you know, reacted, kind of pulled over in the road, starts yelling at them, honking the car horn, like, stop, what are you doing? And trying to intervene. And I guess the guy with the champagne bottle kind of like realized that everyone could see what he was doing, and he stopped and he started to try to, you know, leave, walk away. And the guy who had been beaten got up and kind of brushed himself off, got his bag off the ground, and just started walking the other direction. And we were shocked. And by then we were on the phone with 911 reporting what we were seeing. And the guy who'd been beaten, there was so much blood on him, it was dripping down on his pants, just running down the whole front of him. And I got out of the car and walked over to him and begged him, will you stay? There's 911 coming. You need stitches. You might have a concussion. And he was like, I don't want police involved. Leave me alone. And he keeps walking away. And I'm like, I'm not going to leave you alone. You need medical care. You can't, this isn't something you're going to walk off. And I just kept following him for a couple of blocks, and my husband followed us in the car. He stayed on the phone with 911, and the guy was very adamant, no police. I don't want them in my life. It's not worth it. And eventually the police and ambulance caught up with us. And by then we were about a block from our house. He was actually walking into our neighborhood. And I was saying, you can keep walking this direction. We're just going to go to my house and get towels. And he eventually did agree to get into the ambulance. And later on, the police called me maybe a month later to get my version of the story over the phone, because they were going to charge the champagne bottle guy with assault. And it's a real shame that if I wasn't there to be a busybody, that person would have made the decision to walk away with their serious injuries and to let the person who'd hurt them get away scot-free. And it's bizarre because I've never been exposed really to situations like that, that I filed the bill originally in, like fall 2019. And then in 2020, sometime in like March, I think I still had a homemade mask at that time, I come across this situation where my bill comes to life in front of me. And I know that the Manchester police have had a lot of trouble. They've been posting on social media, and it's been in articles. They have a lot of trouble with people coming in, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, and they're not willing to tell anyone what happened, how they came to be injured. They're refusing to cooperate with police. And I think that if somebody's going to make the choice to refuse to cooperate with police, refuse to hold their attacker responsible because they're worried about being arrested for something petty like possession, then we have a problem. And we know that the 911 immunity law as it exists currently is effective. It's reducing the rate of overdose death in the state. So if we can expand that to apply to other kinds of serious situations in our state, I think that it's a win-win. Definitely a win for police, because they have cooperative people, witnesses willing to give their story. They have a win for victims who are willing to come forward and aren't hiding what they've experienced because they're worried about being arrested themselves. So thanks for hearing my testimony. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Representative. Are there any questions for Representative Bolden? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Representative. Okay, I do not have anyone else signed up to speak. Margaret, are there folks in the waiting room?
Joseph Hannon has his hand raised again.
Okay, let's put Mr. Hannon through. Good afternoon again, Mr. Hannon.
Good afternoon again, long time. Thank you for listening to me again. I'm in strong support of House Bill 546. I was in the House when we put the original 911 immunity bill in for people experiencing an overdose. And as Representative Bolden said, we did see a pretty significant drop in overdose deaths since that time. The availability in naloxone and being able to call without being arrested were two of the prime reasons for that. We're one of 4 states in the country that saw a drop in overdose deaths at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. The importance of this cannot be said enough. I've personally witnessed people being assaulted or after an assault. And like Representative Bolden said, they don't want the police involved. They're afraid of arrest. The number one reason for being hesitant to report a crime is possession in a lot of these cases that I've seen. And this will not only decrease the amount of people that aren't reporting cases, but it may possibly decrease the amount of cases that happen in the first place, because people will have less inclination to assault someone if they don't fear that that person will not come forward. So if you think you can beat someone up because they're using drugs, you're more likely to do so. I think this is very important, and I'd be happy to take any questions, and I beg you to please pass this bill.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Hannon. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you again. Okay, Margaret, is there anyone else?
If anybody else wishes to testify, if you could virtually raise your hand. I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and close the public hearing on House Bill 546. And we will go ahead and open up the last bill that we have this afternoon. This is House Bill 200. Is Representative Vincent there perhaps to introduce the bill?
Representative Vincent, if you are here, if you could virtually raise your hand. I do not see Representative Vincent.
Okay, I will go ahead and introduce the bill. Good afternoon, my fellow Senate Judiciary Committee members. For the record, my name is Sharon Carson, and I have the pleasure of representing Senate District 14, comprising the towns of Londonderry, Hudson, and Auburn. And I have for your consideration this afternoon House Bill 200 FN, which seeks to increase the penalty for certain invasions of privacy. This bill increases, again, the criminal penalty for certain violations of privacy and non-consensual dissemination of private sexual images. Thank you very much, everyone, this afternoon. I will take no questions. I do not have anyone signed up to speak on this bill. Margaret, do you have anyone in the waiting room?
If anybody wishes to testify, if you could virtually raise your hand. I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on House Bill 200. I am going to, seeing that it is 1:40, I'm going to put the committee into recess until 2 o'clock, and I will see you all back here so we can begin to exec. See you in a few. Bye-bye. Oh, we're waiting for Senator Whitley. Okay.
She's here.
Or maybe she's just on mute.
I see her. She's
I
just
don't
not
see-
moving.
I just see her picture. Oh God, Senator French, you do make me laugh. Okay, is it 2:00? Yes, it is. Seeing that it is 2:00, we are going to come we're out of recess and can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Senator French, seconded by Senator Gannon. Okay, is there any discussion on that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Senator Khan is away for a family emergency. He said he would be able to join us at 2:30. So I was just wondering if we could wait until 2:30 to exact bills.
I think if it was, 10, 15 minutes, but we're talking about a half an hour. I don't know. What do you folks think? Do you I'm inclined just to go ahead and when he's available, he can jump in. But what does the committee like to do? What do you want to do?
We may be able to get more on consent if we
If
wait.
you want to wait for we want to wait for a half an hour?
It's up to the chair.
Well, I'm trying to take the temperature of the committee. What do you
I
guys want to
have
do?
plenty of time to wait
You have
for half
time?
an hour. Sure.
Okay, what about you, Senator Gannon? You do? What about,
I have no life, so
okay, Mr. Lehman, are you? Can't hear you.
I'm here for you guys.
Okay, all right, well, let me do this. Since we did not get a second for that, I just want to give you a list of the bills. You received a list of the bills that we could exect. And so I have a list of bills that we are not going to exec today. So hopefully during the half an hour break, you can just arrange your files. House Bill 180, House Bill 197, House Bill 427, House Bill 436, House Bill 474, House Bill 625 FN, and House Bill 233 FN. We will not be executing those bills today. Okay, we will go in numerical order when we come back, and I will see you all at 2:30.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair. Jenny? Oh, I lost Jenny. French. Oh, what was the second?
Bill, I'm here for you. What do you need?
The second to last one. I'm putting not, and I missed one.
Bill, hold on, I'm still here.
Okay.
The last two, one is House Bill 625, and the
Yep.
last one is 233.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
All right,
Awesome.
thank you. We'll see you all in a half an hour.
I'm just gonna wait here. Do.
You and I are.
Hi, Senator.
Hi, Jennifer. How you doing?
I am doing great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing peachy. Peachy, peachy, peachy.
Good to hear.
My
So are we
my
not
runner's named good
broadcasting
though.
right now, or are we live?
We are live right now.
Well, I won't. I'll be good then. Which I always am.
Always am, Senator.
It's that Harold French.
Always
You gotta watch
assume it's
out
a
for.
hot mic.
That's true. I've made the mistake once. I hope not to do it again.
Yeah, once is probably enough. I like what you've done with your room though, Senator Gannon.
Thank you. It's like a college dorm. I got my flags up.
Hey, you flipped them.
Are they projecting correctly now or?
Yes.
Okay. See, on my thing, it looks backwards, but
Jen, have we heard from Senator Khan?
I have not. I did resend him his invitation for the meeting. So I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, let's see, what time is it? It's 2:30. All right.
Well, that was worthwhile.
that was, he might be here in 1 minute, so who knows? It
Yeah,
will
I
be
mean,
if
There's
we
a
get
time
through that.
difference, isn't there?
He is there for a family emergency, so I do
Yeah.
appreciate people
Oh, no.
giving him
You
that
do it for me.
time.
Yeah, it's okay.
Is there a
Um,
time difference between here and Chicago?
No,
Yes.
wait a second. I see him. He's
There
here.
he is.
Hey, how you doing, Senator Khan?
Thank you for allowing me to join you.
Okay, not a problem. We hope everything is okay, and we're sending you our best wishes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, can we're gonna take the committee out of recess. And can I get a motion to go into executive session? Moved by Senator Gannon, seconded by Senator French. I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes. Senator
Khan,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, before we went into recess, I gave a list of bills that we were not going to exec today. It's either because they need work or we've had requests to hold them. That is House Bill 180, House Bill 197, House Bill 427, House Bill 436, House Bill 474, House Bill 425, and House Bill 433. So those we are not going to exec today. We did hear three bills this afternoon. One was House Bill 123, the other was House Bill 456. I think that we can exec 123 and 546 next week, although I do think we can probably talk about House Bill 200 at the end of our exec session today. Okay, we're going to take these in numerical order. The first one that we're going to take up is House Bill 270. This is relative to post-conviction DNA testing. And is there a motion?
I move on to pass.
Okay, Senator French moves on to pass. Senator Whitley seconds. Is there any discussion on the ought to pass motion? Okay.
Madam Chair, we're on, what bill are we on? All
House Bill 270.
right. Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
I did not take, for some reason, I had this one laying on top. I don't know why. Okay, because I have them all in alphabetical order.
Can I
Okay, so
vote,
we
can I
have,
vote last, Madam Chair?
sure, you can vote last.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
seeing
you.
that there's no discussion, I will call the roll. Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
Senator Carson, yes, and Senator Gannon?
Yes.
Okay, so we have ought to pass. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
Move for consent.
Second.
Senator French moves consent. Is there a second?
Second.
Senator Khan seconds. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar motion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
and Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, Senator French, would you like to do this one?
Yes, I definitely would.
Okay, we're on a
Jen?
roll now. Okay, next
one.
we have House Bill 83. Senator French, do you have a motion?
I would like to move ITL.
Okay, Senator Gannon seconds. Is there any discussion on the ITL motion? Senator Khan?
I'm conflicted on this one, as I'm sure all of us are to some extent. I would just think that this ought to have some Senate airing, as opposed to just seeing it go to the consent calendar. That's
Okay,
my
we can, I'm
interest.
sure, Senator, I'm sure that if this comes out 4-1 or 3-2, we will have a robust discussion on the floor of the Senate. So are there any further comments or discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
No.
okay, and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, so that's 4-1, ITL, and I will take this one to the floor. Okay, next we have House Bill 108, and I believe there's an amendment with this one also.
There is, Senator, but we have not distributed it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we do this?
Do a
Make
committee
sure that
amendment?
you, no. Because I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to read this. We can hold off on this one till next week. Okay? So please, Jenny, make sure everyone gets a copy of that amendment. And that's probably my mistake. Because I'm sure you probably reached out to me and it just kind of went, whoo. Okay, next we have House Bill 178. This
Yeah.
has to do with the parole board.
I'd like to move on to pass on this.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Senator Whitley, moved by Senator French. Is there any discussion on the ought to pass motion? Okay, seeing none, I will go ahead and call the roll. Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes.
Move consent.
Okay, Senator French moves consent. Is there a second for the consent calendar? Senator Gannon moves consent. Is there any discussion on the consent motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, is there anyone who would like to take this one to the floor?
I definitely could, or
I'm sorry, Senator Khan, you will?
I can take that.
Okay. Okay, next we have House Bill 239. Okay, this one is relative to prosecutions for certain assaults against minors.
I move ITL.
Okay, Senator French moves ITL, seconded by Senator Gannon. Is there any discussion on the ITL motion?
Yeah, so go ahead, Senator Khan.
No, I'm interested in hearing some discussion.
Yeah, I mean, this actually seemed like a no-brainer to me. It was a unanimous vote in committee, voice vote in the House. The current clock does seem very short, and so I would be actually against the ITL motion, and I would move that. If that failed, I'll move ought to pass.
Okay. Okay, is there any, Senator French, would you like to respond or?
Just a second.
Okay,
It was going to spread the statute of limitations out too far for you could have a childhood spanking or a belt on your hand, and you could charge your parents at age 24. It'd be very hard to defend this. It just, I thought it was too long.
Yeah, and I agree. Looking at this, I did not feel this was needed, and therefore I didn't want to add it to our huge volumes.
Okay.
I side with Senator Whitley on this. I thought the instances that were envisioned for this outweigh the potential consequences, much more serious offenses than taking a belt to a child.
But my problem is it covers so much. It covers everything. It covers the belt to the child. It covers, by putting this on the book, we're just opening up litigation way beyond the memories of people. So I just don't see it as a good bill.
I'm sorry, Senator Whitley.
No, I'll let you speak. You haven't spoken about it.
You would think, I mean, certain assaults against minors, we've talked a lot about this in the Judiciary Committee over the years, and we have expanded the statute of limitations, especially for sexual assaults. But I just don't feel that this is, I agree that it really extends that statute of limitations. And really, if you look at this, there were only 2 people who supported this bill. Nobody was against it either. I'm just not certain that this is the right way to go, that perhaps it needs to be fleshed out a little bit more than what we have right here. And it's, it talks about statute of limitations for an attack of someone under the age of 18. But when we're talking about an attack, what are we actually talking about here? It's just very, it's not clear. It's not very, very clear here. And you're really giving them up to the age of 24 to file a charge against somebody for something that happened when someone's 5 years old, 6 years old. I think it gets to be very, very difficult at that time. And I think that the current statute of limitations is working. And we did not hear testimony as to why we really need to extend this. What are the circumstances? There just was no real compelling reason to extend this statute of limitations.
If I may.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to clarify, there was an example about, giving the belt to your child, for good and for bad in New Hampshire, corporal punishment of your own child is not a crime. And so that's not really applicable in this situation, Senator Gannon. I just wanted to point that out. And
thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to point out, because we're talking about the assault of children, right? And so, I think we can all agree on this committee that, protecting children should be a priority. And so it seems to me that extending the statute of limitations in this way, with a more realistic window, will really send a message from our committee that we are, committed to protecting children, and that, that this is a serious enough issue that we're willing to do this. So that's why, I think it's something that we should vote for.
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry.
No, please, Senator Khan.
Well, I first and second degree assault assumes intent to harm. And I mean, that, somebody might have not brought that charge until later in life was the example, allowing for that charge to be applied beyond the age of 18.
I look at my memories from being 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and they are distorted to say the least. And to be able to bring charges at some far off date in the future, I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of for the citizens of the state. So therefore I am against this.
Okay. I just have concerns about extending these dates. We have a tendency now that we're really pushing these things out, and you're coming up against memories and how people remember things happening. And the further you get away from the actual event, the harder it's going to be to prove. And I don't have enough information. I don't feel comfortable enough passing this. I think there needed to be a lot more work done on this bill. I would have liked to have seen the advocates for children come in and testify. As you know, we have a very strong group of advocates, and they were not here. They did not testify. And so I just don't feel comfortable enough passing this. I'd like to get more information. And if this bill is ITL, I would hope that the sponsor of this bill would listen to the comments here today and maybe go back and do a lot more work and work with the child advocates that we have in this state that do a tremendous job in protecting our state's children, to get something that's actually going to work, that is going to protect the children, and that we can actually pass. Senator Whitley?
Yeah, I want to address the issue that was raised sort of about children's memory, and I think it's an important one, but we do have the appropriate mechanisms in place in our criminal justice system to assess the credibility of evidence. I mean, that's the purpose of the whole system, right? Of the two-party system, we have right. And so assessing the credibility of the evidence, that's already sort of taken care of on our system. And the other piece to it is that, children might be living with an abuser, whether they're related to them or not, until they're out of college, right? And so there's this financial tie to a potential abuser that might not go away, right? And so I think that's yet another reason to extend the statute of limitations to be able to allow the child to sever those ties.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but Senator, in response to your statements, there's no guarantee that even at age 24, that a person who had been abused as a child or assaulted as a child by a caregiver, that at age 24, they're going to feel comfortable enough to bring these charges forward. They could say, well, gee, I'm not going to bring this forward because I'm on their insurance. They carry me on their health insurance until age 26. There has to be a point where you have to say, look, you have up until this time to bring forward something. I would have liked to have heard from the legal community as well. How many cases have come forward where someone claims that they had been physically assaulted or criminally assaulted as a child, who were not able to bring those charges forward because of the statute of limitations running out? We didn't have any testimony to that whatsoever. So I'm not sure if this is a solution in search of a problem or a problem in search of a solution. I just don't think this bill, quite frankly, is ready to pass. We just did not get all the information. I feel comfortable enough in saying I didn't get enough information to pass this. Senator Khan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would support your desire to hear more on this bill. Is there another motion to ITL that you would support?
Well, of course, we have quite a few motions we can make, Senator. It's just this bill needs work. And is there a member here that would like to do this work during the summertime and bring it back to us? late in the fall, or at least until January.
Don't.
I think I'd at least want to go back to Representative Abramson, who provided us with the major testimony on it, I mean, that there was a 20-0 vote in the House, and I would at least take on the responsibility of contacting the representative to say what the concerns are within the committee, that the committee is not going to move this without the hearing more from the legal community or advocacy groups for child protection, and see what he can bring.
Okay, but I think, as you all know, Senator, Representative Abramson can certainly work on this during the summertime and bring forward another piece of legislation in the fall that would be different, and that he could do that. He most certainly can do that. And in fact, I would actively encourage him to reach out to the child advocates and to the legal community to work on this bill.
I understand.
Okay. Okay, is there any further discussion on the ITL motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator French.
Yes.
Senator Gannon.
Yes.
Senator Whitley.
No.
Senator Khan.
No.
Okay, and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, so it's 3-2. And so I will take this one out. Okay, next we have House Bill 331. This is the relative to a forfeiture of personal property. Is there a motion on this?
Motion to ITL.
Okay, Senator Gannon moves ITL. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Senator Whitley seconds. Is there any discussion on House Bill 331?
I'm not sure about Senator Whitley. I think there's enough protections. I want the police to get the money, the higher amounts of money that they'll get under the current civil asset forfeiture. I think there's numerous hearing processes. So you have to be sure that no one's property is getting taken away without due process. So I'm happy with the bill, to ITL the bill.
Okay,
Yeah.
Senator Whitley?
Yeah, and I just, there was such compelling testimony about the need for this revenue, and I just didn't hear any compelling testimony, that would make me think that we should change this procedure in any way and remove that revenue from our local agencies.
I would just like to add my voice in. We have dealt with this issue for a number of years in Judiciary. We have already made changes to what we do, and as far as I knew, we did not hear where people were not satisfied with that. So I am going to support the ITL motion. So is there any further discussion on House Bill 331? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon.
Yes.
Senator French.
No.
Okay, Senator Whitley.
Yes.
Senator Khan.
I'll do no.
Okay, and Senator Carson, I vote yes. So this will come out 3-2, ITL. And Senator Whitley, would you like to take this one out?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Next we have House Bill 360. This is relative to the rental of shared living facilities. Is there a motion on House Bill 360?
Move on to pass.
Okay, Senator French moves on to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Khan. Is there any discussion on the ought to pass motion? Senator Whitley?
Yeah, I would say again, this is sort of a no-brainer. We heard overwhelming testimony that there was agreement between landlords and tenants, that they worked together, came together on this. So I think it's something we should support.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further comments? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, 5-0. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
So moved.
Moved by Senator Khan. Is there a second?
So seconded.
Seconded by Senator French. Okay, is there any discussion on the consent calendar motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, Senator Gannon, would you like to take this one out?
Sure.
Okay. Next, we have House Bill 471. This one, we have amendment number 118S. And so can I get a motion on the bill? And then we'll take up the amendment.
Move ought to pass.
Second.
Okay, moved ought to pass by Senator French, seconded by Senator Whitley. Okay, here we have amendment 118S, which had a separate public hearing. Is there a motion on that amendment?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Senator Whitley. I will second.
What was the
Okay.
motion?
Ought to pass
Ought to pass,
On
okay.
the amendment.
on the amendment, correct. So is there any further discussion on the amendment? Senator Whitley?
Yeah, I would say again, we had a very diverse group of stakeholders that
Yes.
came together with a solution that has been something that the state has worked on for many, many years. And so, just like any sort of settlement, not everyone is happy, but I think it is, a reasonable solution to a problem. Will likely settle the ongoing litigation, save taxpayer dollars in that arena. So I think it's a good compromise.
Agreed. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, is there a motion on the bill as amended?
I move ought to pass as amended.
Senator Whitley moves ought to pass as amended. I will second that motion. Is there any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes.
Move
Okay.
consent.
Okay, Senator French moves consent calendar. Is there a second? Senator Gannon moves consent.
Can we just discuss that for a minute?
Sure.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, this is one of the most controversial topics that we've had relative to law enforcement for quite a few years. I think it's worthy of some transparency and discussion at the Senate level. I don't expect that there's disagreement over this, and nor do I expect that everybody's got to speak to what is in there to support. But I think that the Senate is acting to implement this is worthy of public transparency.
I would agree with Senator Khan on that issue.
Okay, so Senator French and Senator Gannon, would you like to rescind your support or your motion for the consent calendar?
Or we can all just vote no. Yes,
Okay.
I will rescind.
Okay, Senator Gannon?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so I guess I will take this one out and I will have the four of you for backup. Okay. Okay, we're doing good here, folks. Next, we have House Bill 485. This requires a law enforcement officer to inform a person of their right to refuse a consensual search. Is there a
Vote to
motion on this?
pass. Vote
Okay.
to pass.
Okay, move.
So I will
on-
note, Senator Crossen, you have your amendment on that bill.
Okay, all right, okay.
Amendment number 1123S at the request of the Department of Corrections.
Okay, that's right. That's right. This one, okay, so we have a motion of ought to pass. We do have amendment number 112, I have 1123S. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
and this was language that was requested by the Department of Corrections because, and I received a letter from the Department of Corrections. I hope all of you did as well. They had a concern. Let's see. While they said they do not take a position relative to a local police officer's requirements regarding consensual searches, House Bill 485 as written would have a deleterious effect on the Department of Corrections' ability to control the potential introduction of contraband onto its grounds and its facilities. As the law stands now, once a person enters the grounds or facilities of the Department of Corrections, they have impliedly consented to the search of their persons or property. And they did cite the rules under which they operate. And it says that under the existing state of law, merely by stepping onto the property of the prison means we can conduct a search of a person or their property, including an unlocked vehicle. The language of House Bill 485 would change the state of the law, forcing the Department of Corrections staff to ask a person on the prison property for consent to search their person or vehicle. While the Department of Correction never searches a person without his or her consent, the proposal under House Bill 485 would eliminate the department's ability to intercept contraband by simply searching an unlocked vehicle. And so the language that is in the amendment reflects the language that they've requested, that they feel would allow them to continue to do what they're doing. Did all of you get that letter?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions about the amendments at all?
Madam
Senator
Chair.
Khan? Yes.
I just point out how the amendment also includes inventory searches of lawfully seized property.
Mm-hmm. But this is, okay. State correctional, yeah. So this is any state correctional facility or transitional housing unit operated by the Department of Corrections or inventory searches of lawfully seized property, including but not limited to vehicles towed in conjunction to the arrest of the operator. This is a carve out for the Department of Corrections. So they are, if they seize someone's car, they've searched it and they've seen that there is some sort of material in there that would be considered contraband. And I'm going to make the assumption that we're talking about drugs here, that they would be able to, it would be a lawfully seized property, included but not limited to vehicles towed in conjunction to the arrest of the operator. Rick?
Some of that was already included in the language of the original bill.
Okay.
The addition in the amendment is that has to do with the Department of Corrections. Obviously, on Department of Corrections properties, constitutionally rights are lowered and lessened because they have unique security needs. Those other searches that were in the original bill, including inventory searches that Senator Khan raised, are searches that are performed without consent anyway. So there isn't really a right to object to a true inventory search. Those are searches that are done by police departments when they seize a vehicle to list all the property and avoid claims that property was stolen. And so there's really nobody there to consent anyway.
And I didn't raise the question as a concern, only to point it out that it extends beyond just the grounds of corrections. But all good. I think the amendment that's been brought forward helps clarify the bill.
Yeah, and I would add too that we heard, even though other folks hadn't seen the actual amendment from the Department of the Corrections, it sounds like there was agreement with the general contours by other stakeholders as well. So I can support this amendment also.
Okay, so we have amendment 1123S. Is there a motion on the amendment?
I would move ought to pass on the amendment.
Okay, Senator Khan moves ought to pass. Is there a second?
I can second.
Okay, seconded by Senator Whitley. Okay, is there any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. So can I get a motion on the bill as amended?
Move ought to pass.
amended.
Okay, Senator Whitley beat you to it, Senator French.
She is quick one.
Senator Whitley moves ought to pass, seconded by Senator French. Is there any further discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. So it's 5-0. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
Do we want to put this one on consent, Sharon?
Look, that's up to you folks. If you want to, we will. If not, if you want to talk about it, that's fine.
I'd rather not.
Okay. All right. So,
Well, you can go through the motion, I'll vote no, so.
okay, well, no reason doing that one. Senator Khan, would you like to take this one?
Yes. I'd be glad to.
Okay. Okay. Next, we have House Bill 540. It deals with the guardianships. I would like to retain this bill. I think that it needs some more work. And so I'm just going to ask everyone to allow me to retain this bill and do some more work on it. Senator Whitley?
So I would oppose that a retention. I think the bill it went through a lot of conversation in the House. It has a lot of folks that have participated in the drafting. And I will say, I actually, have a personal experience with supported decision-making. I have a sister-in-law who has a developmental disability that has resulted in a cognitive impairment. And she does not live in New Hampshire, but in another state where supported decision-making is permitted, we do use that with her. And she has lived a very full and successful life without guardianship. In many other states, she would have a guardianship based on her cognitive impairment. She's now 39. She has lived on her own. She has a job. She has a very full life. But my family members have been able to participate in her decision-making and have allowed her really to have as many rights as possible, knowing that, the rights to self-determination, the right to make so many decisions in your life is so important. So I think this is a very well-developed and well-crafted bill. I was a co-sponsor. I have personal experience with how well it can it be used. I know there was a concern raised about sort of, the form that is in the bill, but we have plenty of other forms in the probate world. Many forms are in statute, so I don't see that as a concern. Also, many statutes that deal with, contractual obligations. So the other issue I wanted to raise is I think it's important, there was some issue raised that, well, why do we need to even put this in statute? And it is very important because when a family member, and I speak from experience, when a family member is looking to, how to support their adult family member with a disability, you're presented first with guardianship, and that is a very common occurrence. And so, having the option of something other than guardianship is very important to have in the statute to let families know that that option is available. And I think in general, the supportive decision-making gives individuals that have a disability, it gives them a voice. It gives them, the right to make their own decisions. And, as was pointed out in testimony in the hearing, that, we all rely on other folks to make decisions. We all have our go-to people that we use to make decisions. And just because an individual, with disabilities may need a little bit more help, we shouldn't be keeping decisions, taking decisions away from them just because they might need more support. So I would not support a retention, and I would move out to pass.
Okay, thank you. I will respond. My family just went through this whole guardianship procedure with my daughter, so I'm aware of what it looks like. I think, again, you brought up the fact that there were some issues with the form, and I would agree with that. But I also think that there are issues with what the individual should be aware of, what rights they are actually giving up, and what are the responsibilities of the individuals that are going to be taking over for them. I think all of that needs to be clearly spelled out. And that's why I would just like to retain the bill so we can work on it and get it into the best place that we can possibly can. This will be something new for New Hampshire. I'd like to actually take the time to look to see what other states are doing. I'm glad that you spoke about where your where your relative is. And let's take a look at what other states are doing as well. And let's see if that is something that can work for New Hampshire. We don't want to set up a program and find out that there are that there are problems. And I would think that all the people that came to testify for this would want to have further discussions, and let's see what we can do to make it much better than what it is. And a very robust program. And I see if we can actually get everything right, that more people would take advantage of this type of a program rather than just going for a blanket guardianship.
Yeah, and I appreciate your concerns and your desire to get the best product. I mean, I know that this was because I was part of the process. There was a very big group of people involved in drafting this, including many lawyers, both who represent families and who represent individuals with disabilities. We had a number of folks, attorneys who practice in this area, testify in support. There was 56 people in support of the bill and absolutely no opposition. So I do think it's a bill that's ready for prime time, and I would hope the committee would support it.
Okay. Are there any further, Senator Khan?
Yeah, Madam Chair, are you looking to move this just to later consideration by the committee? We don't need to be acting on this today.
No, we have to make a decision to retain the bill. We have to vote on it, and that will be on the floor to re-refer the bill back to the committee.
That's what I was wondering.
Yep. So that is what I'm proposing to the committee. And so I don't believe, Jen, that we've made any kind of motion or anything. So
I would move out to pass.
Okay, Senator Whitley moves on to pass. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Senator Khan seconds. Okay, is there any further discussion on the ought to pass motion?
I will be voting to re-refer this.
Okay, so let me go ahead and call the roll. Senator Whitley?
Yes.
Senator French?
No.
Senator Khan?
Yes.
Senator Gannon?
No.
And Senator Carson, no. So the ought to pass motion fails.
I move to re-refer.
Okay, and seconded by Senator Gannon. Okay, is there any discussion on the re-refer motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll.
Sorry,
Senator Whitley?
Because the ought to pass failed, I'll support the re-refer just so we can keep working on it.
Okay, terrific. And Senator, I look forward to working with you on this bill. So Senator Gannon?
Yes.
Senator Whitley?
Yes.
Senator French?
Yes.
Senator Khan?
Yes.
And Senator Carson, yes. Okay.
Motion for consent?
Okay, thank you. Is there a second for the consent
Second
calendar?
that.
Seconded by Senator French. Okay. Is there any discussion on the consent motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
okay, Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. And I will be responsible for the blurb on this one. Next, we have House Bill 615, reducing the penalty for certain first offense drug possessions.
I'd
Drug
like
possession
to,
charges.
I'd like to make a motion of ITL.
Okay, ITL, seconded by Senator Gannon. Okay, is there any discussion on the ITL? Senator Whitley?
I can't support the ITL. This was again unanimous vote in committee. Criminal justice in the committee in the House and Ways and Means both saw this bill. We one of our colleagues, Senator Reagan, is a co-sponsor. We heard some very important testimony from all sorts of advocates. Including the AFP, ACLU, New Futures, criminal defense attorneys, folks in long-term recovery, that thought this was such an important way to continue to address improving access to treatment, getting folks into treatment rather than criminalizing a substance misuse disorder. I would think that we would want to do everything possible to support folks getting into treatment. So I can absolutely not support the ITL motion.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions?
I'll be supporting the
ITL.
No. A motion of ought to pass. So should we get to that place, Senator?
We'll get there. We're going to get to a motion here today. Okay. So is there any further discussion on
I just did 24-0 in one committee and yeah, criminal justice, I guess, was a little bit more split. Okay.
Well, I would just like to remind people that this is a separate body and the House is going to do what they're going to do and we're going to do what we're going to do. So it is just the way that it is. So we have an ITL motion moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the ITL? Okay. Seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
No.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
No.
and Senator Carson, yes. So that's 3-2. Senator French, would you like to take this one out?
I would.
Okay. Okay, next we have House Bill 630, which is authorizing certain procedures for rulemaking. We really did not have any testimony on this bill. I did speak with Representative McGuire, who was traveling, and there was an individual who was supposed to introduce the bill and testify on it, but unfortunately that didn't happen. She informed me that this bill had been much larger when it was in the House, and a lot of it was cut down, quite frankly. And so the only thing that really remained is the ability to permit photocopied and scanned versions of signatures to use in rulemaking procedures. I think that using scanned versions of signatures and photocopies of signatures is commonplace today. And she informed me that they really needed, GELCAR and the rulemaking process really needed to have this in place. I did reach out to Senator Reagan on this bill, but he really was not up to, to really discuss this bill. And it really was about Senator McGuire, Representative McGuire. She was away last week and was not available. So I as someone who sat on Delcar for 8 years, I understand why they would like to do this. It will make their jobs easier. And will allow them to be more efficient in the rulemaking process. So I don't know how you folks feel about this. This is a bill we really didn't get a lot of, we didn't get any testimony on.
Yeah. Madam Chair, I having served on Jelcar last term, it was very obvious during COVID that more electronic filings and signatures can expedite the work. It was very difficult to meet timelines when documents were still being passed back and forth among departments, and I think this kind of adjustment to the process is going to accelerate the hearing process. So I support this.
I move on to pass.
I'll second.
Okay, Senator French moves ought to pass and Senator Khan seconds. Is there any further discussion on the ought to pass motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Senator Whitley, seconded by Senator Khan. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar motion? Okay, I will call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Sure.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Senator Khan, since you're familiar with the Jelcar process, would you like to do this one?
Will do.
Okay. The last one that we might want to take up today would be one that we had this afternoon, which was House Bill 200. I know Senator Khan, you weren't there, but this is much like the last one. We had a representative that was not available, did not speak. There was nobody available to testify whatsoever. There was one opposition and 43 people signed in favor. I don't know what this is actually doing, because we have not had any testimony on this whatsoever. Senator Whitley?
I would just want to wait on this so we could just, do a little bit more thinking and
Okay.
and have additional conversations.
Okay, that's terrific. We can put this one aside for next week.
I'll look
Okay.
forward to the hearing report.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
It's
Okay.
a quick read.
Yes, a very quick read. There you go. Senator Gannon?
Yeah, on 375, which was destruction of property by the police, which I think we were all in agreement on.
Yep.
We forgot there was an amendment to include sheriffs all over the place. The sheriffs just wanted to be included. So I'm going to have a floor amendment. I hope you'd all
Okay.
support. Again, there's no substantive changes. It was heard in the committee. They testified to it. It was probably my fault, but we didn't introduce the amendment that the sheriffs wanted to be added. So it's a simple change, just adding sheriffs all over the place. So they can dispose just like the police.
Okay.
This is 375, which is on the docket for this Thursday.
Yeah, so on the floor, I'm just.
No.
gonna-
These will be on the floor next week.
Oh, no, 375 is this week, though.
Oh, okay. Oh, all
That
right.
one,
Okay.
that particular one. So I'm
Okay.
just amending it with, it's just an insertion of the word sheriffs and maybe another word, but that's all the intent is. Police and
Okay.
sheriffs.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay. So that is all that we're going to take up today.
Move we come out of executive session.
Okay. Thank you, Senator French. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Gannon. Is there anything else that we need to discuss today? I would just like to wish Senator Khan the best and wish him safe travels when he comes back.
Thank you very much. Not a trip of pleasure.
No,
Be glad
no,
to say more when I get back. Thank you.
Okay, I will go ahead and call the roll. Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Khan,
Yes.
and Senator Carson. Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn for the day?
So moved.
Moved by Senator Whitley. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Khan. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll. Senator Khan,
Yes.
Senator French,
Yes.
Senator Whitley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
and Senator Carson, yes. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for today.
Thank you. Good
We'll
luck,
see
Jay.
you On
Safe travels, Jay.
Thursday.
Thank you all.
Take care, everybody. Thank
care,
you,
Jay.
Rick. Thank you, Jenny.